Michael G. Daniels. This is your host, CB Baker. We are back in this election season going on right now. As you know, Dr. Daniels has been on the forefront on Twitter and on social media expressing his, disdain might be too much.
I will say I've been expressing my concern.
There you go.
That the current leadership is not vested in the interests of our country, but in his own interests.
Gotcha. So today's episode, we're basically going to be somewhat like a debate format. Dr. Daniels is going to take the position of against Trump, and I have the position of being a Trump supporter. Now, disclaimer, I am not a Trump supporter. I've already voted, and it was not for Trump. So, but I understand the people that do vote for Trump and why they do vote for Trump. So therefore, I felt like I'm the better suited person for this, because let's be honest, Dr. Daniels, he could do it, but it's not going to be genuine. All right, so here we go. So I ain't got no change on me. I would say flip a coin and say who's going to go first.
Well, let me ask you the question first, since I'm the senior person in the room.
Okay.
I can understand people voting their best interest. That makes good sense to me. You always want to vote your best interest because that's America. Sometimes you may vote for the good of the whole, but at least you vote your best interest, in some way, because you see the good of the whole as being your best interest, or you see personally it's in my best interest.
Right.
I say that because I really don't see how voting for Donald Trump is in the best interest of anyone of color, okay? And I say that because of his stance on people of color and the people he associate with and the people he hold close to him, And I'll tell you how I view that, why I say that with this view. Trump, I was watching Fox the other day, and every now and then I do watch them. I don't agree with them, but I still watch them just so I can, kind of get a feel for what the enemy thinks like.
Right.
And they had black Republicans on. And this one black Republican said that the reason why he could never support Biden is because Biden is a racist and Donald Trump is not. Now, help me to understand how, and I mean this in a sincere way, help me understand how a African-American or a black man or woman, whichever you want to call yourself, would come to the conclusion that Biden is a racist and Trump is not.
Okay. All right. So first point with Biden being called a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Until this election season came up,
Mm-hmm.
Biden had been linked to Bill Clinton and other Democrats that passed legislation
Mm-hmm.
back in the early 90s, which in turn locked up a lot of black men, during that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was one of the ones that spearheaded that, the bill being passed and all that stuff.
3 strikes you out. That's what you're referring
Right, that's
to?
what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Okay. So the facts are he had a hand in locking up a lot of black people.
Let me ask you this.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
See, you get
No. I was just gonna. Go ahead. You're right. I should not have interrupted you.
So now, Trump has not passed anything like that. If anything, he's done the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
He has passed trying to get people out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're in jail for 20 plus years. He worked to get people out. He's working to get black people and people of color out of jail. Now, he has had some influence from outside people to get that done. And those people were people of color that helped him, that influenced him to do that.
Right.
So that is what a lot of black Republicans are based their foundation on Biden versus Trump
right.
when it comes to people wanting to play the racist card,
Mhm.
but really towards Trump.
And okay, here's the question I have for you in that, because again, to me that makes no sense, and I'm going to tell you why. So again, that's why I'm posing the question, because I'm really sincerely want to know why people think that way. If I pass a law that says driving 55 in a residential district is illegal, and more black people decide to break the law, whose fault is it? Mine for passing the law, or the black folk for speeding?
It's not necessarily the law, but the sentencing.
No.
The sentencing is what.
No. That my question was not that, but I will give it to you, sentencing, since you're trying to bring that question in.
Right.
Is the person that passed the law, is that the person that does the sentencing, or does it someone else other than the person that passed the law do the sentencing?
Someone else does that.
So then you can't blame the person that gave the law for the sentencing, because the person that does the sentencing is a judge, and the judges were not appointed by Clinton. The judges were appointed by his predecessor, which was a Republican.
Right.
So even if I look at it that way, I would have to say, okay. So that's my point. That's why I'm asking the question that way. Is that, do I blame the lawgiver? Did they pass the law 3 strikes you out trying to lock up black people? Did they pass the law 3 strikes you out to prevent repeat offenders? And did they make black people become repeat offenders? Or did they do it because they just felt like, I'm going to do it again?
The answer to the question is, I really don't know. But the facts are, it ended up being black people and people of color, more so than white people.
Okay.
That was locked up for the 3 strikes you're out rule.
Right.
Okay. So that is an actual fact.
But see, the point is, that's like saying, this is what that's like saying, bananas kill people. How do you know bananas kill people? Because everybody that ate a banana died. Well, no, they died because they got old as dirt. He's definitely ate bananas. Here's why I'm saying it that way. Now, what you're saying, you're right. Your argument is exactly what I hear people say, right? Mm-hmm. But here's what I think the problem is in the argument, right? Because, I'm a little older than you, so I know all the details of 3 strikes out, where it came from. It started with Ronald Reagan, right? And when it started with Ronald Reagan, it was because of his wife. Nancy Reagan is the one that said, you know what, just say no to drugs.
Right.
We're tired of drugs, just say no to drugs. And the issue was that most drug dealers, because it was dealing with drugs primarily. See, murderers don't, you don't kill folk 3 times and then, right. You don't keep getting back out. Right. Because, once you get life, you're in. It was the people selling drugs that were coming in and coming back out, back and forth. So the decision was, we got to stop these guys from just coming right back out and selling drugs. Now, the people they really were targeting weren't black people. People they were targeting were the drug kingpins, who at that time were mostly, it was through that connection coming through Florida, right. Which really, they were people from Colombia. It was that connection. It just so happened that people of color, which happen to be people from, South America, or, the Mexicans, Latinos, what have you, and black people that were in the drug trade at the level where they got caught more frequently. So 3 strikes you out was really to stop the drug trafficking. Right. It's just that black folk, kept trafficking in drugs. Okay. So I get that. But here's the other point I'm trying to make. Who drafted the law? Was it Biden?
That part I honestly don't know.
Right. And see, that's the thing. It wasn't Biden. Guess what? It was a Republican that drafted the law. Isn't that something? But it had bipartisanship.
Right.
So if you look at the people, that actually drafted did all this stuff, it wasn't like it was a Democrat that decided, let me draft this law. It was bipartisan legislation that went through, and flew through. It just so happened that Clinton was the president. Get it? He was the president, but Biden wasn't the president.
Yes. Correct.
Biden was a senator.
Right.
So just because he voted along with the other senators doesn't mean that he locked everybody up. Actually, the law didn't lock you up anyway. The prosecutors are the ones that decide, right, who they're going to prosecute.
Right.
So if anything, if we're going to call people racist for getting people locked up, shouldn't it be the prosecutors?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying, right?
I'm not in disagreement with that aspect.
No, you just explain it.
Right. But at the end of the day, going back to even though with the banana scenario that you gave, the facts are the facts. Now, what Donald Trump was not a politician at that time. He had no say-so and stuff going on at that time frame. But when he has been in office, he has done things that helped more black people than
name me one.
Than even Obama did.
Name me one thing that he did that helped black people more than white people.
That helped black people more than white people?
Right, because that's what you said. So name me one thing that he did.
That helped black people more than the other party has.
Okay, name me one thing that he did that helped black people more than the other party has.
Number one, he gave us stimulus checks.
No, he didn't give us. He gave everybody, but he didn't do it.
Well, the letter that was sent out to everybody when you got your stimulus check had Donald Trump.
But he didn't do it. Nancy Pelosi did it, who was a Democrat. He took credit for it.
But his name is on the list.
But you know and I know where did it come from, though. It came from the House, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And the House is run by what group of people?
The Democrats.
Nancy Pelosi did it. Right. Just like right now, Nancy Pelosi is fighting, right, to get what? Big stimulus checks again. And the Republicans are saying no. And Donald Trump is saying no privately, but publicly is saying, I want it. Okay? Now, here's the thing. You told me why they said that Biden was racist, right? How would you define a person that refuses to let blacks live in their apartment? How would you define a person that tries to use all of his capital to prove that a black man is not eligible to be president? How would you define a person that says that the Klan and the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists are good people?
How would I defend that?
No, define them.
Define that.
Yeah. Do you consider them to be racist, non-racist? And if you like them people, what does that kind of make you?
I mean, the way you worded it is only one way you can do that and say it's racist.
Well, word it the way you like to word it in order to make it sound better.
How you said earlier, that same concept can be applied.
But first, you got to defend that one before you apply it to Biden.
But see, I would say that he's a racist, right? That particular person, if you define that person as a racist, I would say that.
Okay.
But now the flip side of that coin is if I'm hanging with drug dealers, pimps, and prostitutes, does that make me one of them?
If I say that pimps, drug dealers, and prostitutes are wonderful people and their actions are wonderful, then I would say something's wrong with my thinking.
But that doesn't make me one of them.
I didn't say, well, it might not make me one of them, but here's what I would say. If I'd say that you can sell drugs out of my house, you can pimp your girl out of my house, that would make me a drug dealer and a pimp. Okay? So I'm just saying, if he says, you know what, you black people cannot live in my properties,
right,
but white people can. And he has to be sued to let people live there, right? I mean, I understand your concept because I heard from, my brothers who are Republicans all the time. I really and truly, I'm just trying to understand. I know people don't think that way, but I really am. I'm trying to understand. Here's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Jonestown and those people that just followed him blindly, drank the Kool-Aid and died.
Right.
I'm trying to understand what is it about this person's personality that people can't just see him for what he is. I
see him for what he is, as an opportunist.
Yes.
Point blank. Now, step out of the role of supporting Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He's an opportunist, and he's really about himself. And if you look at old clips of him from years ago, where he's, when he was younger, saying he wanted to be president, I think he just likes the idea of being like, I am the president. So that's why I'm actually, if you would have recorded me 4 years ago, I would have said, and I had said that I'd be shocked if he wants to run again, because he got what he wanted, which is to be president. Like, he didn't remember when he won. There was nobody there because he didn't think he would win.
Right.
He had basically like, I did and went through the motions, and then he's like, I'm gonna throw this Hail Mary pass, and it ain't gonna, and then the guy scores or the ball goes in the goal. It's like, I won. And he's like, okay, now what I do?
But now he loves it. See, and here's why I pose it that way. Right. Okay. For example, when Donald Trump first decided to run in the primaries, look at all the Republicans that hated him.
No, all of them did.
All of them did.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So how do you say he's morally corrupt? How do you say he's inept? And then, but all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing since Ronald Reagan. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What is it about that psyche? I'll give you another example I'm talking about. Think about people who he ran against in the primaries. He talked about their dads. He talked about them. He talked about, horribly, not just.
And they've been like stone quiet.
Right.
You won't hear.
And some of them are supporting him. Alwyn is supporting him. The only one that is not rolled over is what's the gentleman that ran against Obama the second time. The senator that ran against Obama for the second term, who's from Utah.
Romney?
Romney.
Right.
Romney's the only one that is not, that still, to me, has character to say, he's wrong, when he's wrong. He's not always wrong, but, right. When he's wrong, he says he's wrong. For example, you remember how he dogged out John McCain? He dogged him out, right? And John McCain's wife, or widow, I should say, she has made a commercial indicating that she supports Biden and that she thinks that Donald Trump should not be president. John McCain's daughter is supporting Donald Trump. I can't get wrapped it around my head. If your mother says, this man talked about your daddy like a dog, I can't do it. I can't support somebody that talks about my father like a dog. I'm just saying, I don't, that's what I just don't understand. Who does that? I don't understand this, for example. If you look at, I know people say he did more for black people, blah, blah, blah. You got to be living only in 2000 to believe that. The most important thing that ever happened to black people, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion, was the Voting Rights Act. Because without that, we would not have been where we are now.
Right.
If we didn't have the right to vote. Right. So if we're going to look at the most important thing that happened, it's got to be the Voting Rights Act of 1964, right? Well, Donald Trump didn't do that.
Right.
Right? That was Lyndon Johnson. So to me, that's the most important thing. And I think, most of the civil rights people who are alive today will say the same thing. That was the most important thing. And most people who really know history will say, other than freeing the slaves, right, that's the same thing. It's civil rights acts, those kind of things.
I think the main issue with Trump and his supporters is what me and you cannot ever really fully understand, which is the white privilege that they don't understand that they have.
Well, I'm talking about black folk.
I'm talking about white people.
No, the white folk I get.
All right.
I don't understand why black people don't see him for what he is.
The black people that don't see him for what he is are the same black people that if you tell them it's going to rain in 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
they won't believe you. They got to go look it up. And then it literally be raining outside. This thing says it's only a 30% chance of rain. And it's raining at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But they still will only go. It's like it's those type black, we've all had them black folks at the cookout that they be talking and you're like, what in the world? Like, where you have the lunch?
Well, yeah. And that's the thing, like, we know that, for example, if you look at this, if you back up and look at the Republican agenda and what the Republican agenda traditionally has been, right? Traditionally, the Republican agenda has been a balanced budget. Donald Trump
He's blown it out of the water.
It's blown the budget out of the water.
Right.
We got the highest deficit now we've had in the history.
Trump is the most democratic person on paper,
right?
What he's actually done
when it comes to spending money,
right? He's been spending like water,
right? But that's what I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? That's what blows my mind. It's like I'm trying to get. Wait a minute. On the one hand, you said you're a Republican because you wanted you want fiscal responsibility, you wanted states' rights, you wanted this stuff, but then you get it and you throw it back away and say, no, well, we thought we wanted fiscal responsibility, but no, we don't. Keep running the budget up. Keep running the deficit. Donald Trump got a new plan that his own his own General Accounting Office, GAO, has said, and this is the General Accounting Office for the nation, has said, based on those projections, by 2023, Social Security will be bankrupt. Okay? Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023. Well, if you're paying into the system currently, how in the world, especially if, let's say you're in your 50s, how in the world would you say what this guy's doing is what's best for me? Right. See, that's why I'm saying that kind of stuff doesn't make sense. Now, are there a lot of black folk on Social Security? Absolutely. So how do you, I guess this is the strange part to me. You as a black person, you're saying, we just so happy he let all the criminals out, but we don't care if the old people can't get medicine, if they can't pay their bills, if they can't feed themselves, because we want the criminals out. I'm saying, I don't care whether you're black or white. If you break in my house,
right,
I want you locked up.
Right.
I say, I ain't got a problem with you being locked up for breaking the law. If I break the law, don't lock me up. But the rest of them need to go to jail.
For now, back to defending Trump on a certain aspect of things. I think one thing that Trump has really taught us is that politicians really did have the power to make changes to whatever they really wanted to have happen, because he's proven that. Because even with him, the Republican Party not liking Trump, he did stuff that he didn't care what they thought. He went ahead and tried to push it through, and then ram it down their throats. Half the stuff that Trump has pulled off, if Obama would have even tried to do 10% of it,
right,
he not only would he have gotten impeached, they would have threw him out the office.
It put him in jail.
Right. So that's the stuff that I think people are really kind of shocked at. Like, well, wait a minute now. So you mean to tell me that the president really could do all of these things? And now I think people are getting really worried is because democracy is still a relatively new thing if you look at the history of time.
Very new.
Okay.
Right.
So it doesn't take much to slip back into a dictatorship, or you're going back to kings and things like that, or like with Putin, you have a situation where it's a democracy, but he basically is automatically going to win because he's basically strong-armed everything.
Right.
It's you voting to make yourself feel good about voting. It don't really mean anything. And that's kind of where people are fearful of where we're heading now. Because if what Trump is saying, now this is the one I can't defend him on. Even it's like what he's saying is, well, the election is not going to be legit if I don't win the election because stuff is jacked up with the mail system and everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, sir, you the one that jacked up the mail system.
Right.
You know,
right.
That's like going and breaking the door of my microwave, myself, and then wake up in the morning and the door go off the microwave, and then I'm blaming everybody else in the house. Right. You know,
when you did it yourself.
When I did it myself.
Right, and he did it. The irony of it is he's doing it so he can win, and then if he doesn't win, he's saying, "Wait a minute, I know I cheated and I didn't win, so it must be rigged."
Right.
That's really what he's saying. Right. And that's the. I mean, wow, that's the crazy part. Here's another thing, just to drop out, and a lot of people probably don't know this happened because a lot of people don't follow not just the legislative, they don't follow the constitutional requirements, as much as they probably ought to. But we do know that, every 10 years, based on Constitution, we're required to have a census, right? And that census determines a lot of things, as you already know. It determines funding for, school localities. It determines, funding for, police and fire, hospitals, retirement, senior citizens, all these kind of things. Your legislature, how you're going to draw lines for who you can vote for. All those kind of things are determined based on the census. Now, by law, the census says, this is constitutional. The law, by the way, the Constitution says that everybody in the United States of America must be counted. Not every citizen, everybody in the United States of America must be counted. Well, Trump has said, no, everybody shouldn't be counted. Only citizens should be counted. Well, that's against the Constitution, number one.
Right.
The second thing is the Constitution tells you what the period of time is when it should be counted. And, that falls under the Department of Commerce, which I used to work for. That's why I'm familiar with it, because I work for that agency. Trump went to the court to reduce the time period for counting.
Right.
And guess what?
He got it.
He got it. They shut it down. They shut it down before everybody gets counted. Now, what does that do? That means the very people, when you hire people to go knock on doors, the very people that are impacted the most by it getting shut down is Black people. Because see, most white folk, they turn their forms in already. They turn their forms in. See, it's Black folk that's hiding out because we don't understand that, getting counted don't mean you can, you're going to have a warrant,
Right.
So the enumerators go and knocking on our doors saying, hey, how many people live in your household? And then we tell them, those kind of things. We are not the ones that respond. So that means we get undercounted. So when we get undercounted, that means less money comes back to our neighborhoods. He knows that. That's why he's shortening it. What legitimate reason do you have for being the president of not wanting to count everybody?
So not back to supporting Trump. Or which one?
No, I'm saying, yeah.
Okay.
Support Trump.
The benefit of it is, why would I want somebody knocking on doors during the pandemic?
Well, you're having rallies during the pandemic without wearing masks.
I mean, but that's not having government workers out there knocking on doors. You got to keep people safe.
But the government workers getting paid. The people coming to your rallies are not getting paid.
And it's voluntarily they're coming to the rallies.
It's voluntary to work as a numerator. You have to apply for that job.
You apply for it, but you also, like you said, you are getting paid by the government.
But still, you want to be out there. That's why you apply for the job. You want the money. That's why you apply for the job. You still can wear protective gear. Yeah. You can still step back 6 feet while you're talking to the person, right? I mean, you really, I know you tried, but you get where I'm coming from.
It really doesn't make any sense. But once again, that goes back to another thing that the president has done that nobody thought he could do.
Right. And the problem is this, right? Even though the court, well, the court didn't tell him, let me say it this way. He said, stop, right? The lawsuit says we need to keep going. The lower court said, yes, you got to keep going. The appellate court said, wait a minute, let's just cease and desist until we get a final ruling. Well, by the time you get a final ruling, the time will be over with.
Right.
Right? And we know that. He knows that too. His lawyers know that. So I guess my point being is this, again, I don't know how people just I don't know how they missed the tree for looking at the forest. How do you not see the tree when you're looking at the forest? How do you not see that what this person is doing is hurting your people, and what hurts your people hurts you?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the American government itself is like the tax code. Is too much going on where you could easily make it so simple.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the people that's in office say things that's simple, and you be like, because you're going to search for the most simplest solution or explanation of something. So even though that's the reason why they missing the big oak tree, because I'm telling them about this beautiful forest, even though there's a dead oak tree in the middle of this thing that is blocking my path to get to everything else. But look over to your right and look to your left. Look at all this beautiful greenery. But now, like you say, I'm missing the point
right
in there. And can I get them to miss everything else, the big oak tree, for one more election, so I get 4 more years?
That's all he needs, right?
Right.
It's for 3
weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and he got it done.
Right.
And consider this. You made a good point. You said that Trump has been able to push legislation down the throats. Well, I won't say legislation because he's done most of it by executive order. He's been able to push executive orders, down their throat and get his Republican people to, in the Senate to back him. Since they were in the majority, they were able to just the impeachment was a waste of time because the Republicans were not going to do anything. The only president I can think of in recent history, it was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did it differently. But Ronald Reagan was the kind of president that whatever he wanted done got done. But not just because of Republicans, though. It was because he would call Democrats and Republicans up. He would call Tip O'Neill up. He would call these guys up. And he just was a good negotiator. He was good at letting people know, you know what, it's going to benefit you. And don't worry, I still got your back too. I know you're a Democrat, but I got your back too. So you blah, blah. Whereas Trump don't do that. All he does is talk about your mama when you don't agree with him, right?
Right.
And so, and granted, what you're saying is true, but by the same time, it being true is scary. Not just because of the political ramifications of it, but because of the climate of the country that we're in, right? I mean, you think of what you want your children to grow up and aspire to be. You think of, granted, we realize that all politicians aren't perfect. They're not just moral people, but we have that, what we call check and balance in our system, right? We have the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and executive branch. And they're supposed to be co-equal, right? Trump has made it as if they're not co-equal. He has set it up to say, I am the dictator. You don't look at you don't look at now the way our political is set up and think about the Supreme Court being equal to the president. You don't think about this, you don't think about the Congress being equal to the president. No. And he has made it that way, because he always says my attorney general.
Right.
And it's not his attorney general, and it's not that's not his lawyer. Even though it's a cabinet post, it's not his lawyer, That's where he carries it. But what you said was true. Obama could not have done that. There's no way. I will say this about the Democrats, in my opinion, a lot of them are cowards. Not cowards meaning that, I'm afraid of you. Da, da, da. I mean that they are afraid to be real sometimes. That doesn't mean they were cowards, afraid to be real. I give Trump credit for being real, But see, because if it was me and I was Obama and I was giving my State of the Union address and somebody get out and say, you're a liar, I'd have said, I bet you won't come up here and say it to my face.
Right.
All right? Now come up here and say it.
Right.
We won't.
Then you the pissed off black man.
Yeah. Right.
But that's how.
Right.
But now Trump can do that.
Right.
And
has done it. Right.
Done it. And I was watching it and I laughed.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "This is Trump." At the end of the day, is the most entertaining president we have ever had.
He or the one that makes you madder than anyone you ever had.
But see, when I look at Trump as what is he going to do to entertain this whole thing? Like when the debate.
Mm-hmm.
I told my wife, I said, "There's no way Biden can win this debate." She looked at me like, I see, there's no way he can win it because Trump is not going to listen to the moderator.
True. I think he won though. I think he won not because of what he did.
Right.
I think he won because Trump looked stupid.
Yeah. But here's the deal. But what did we spend all the time talking about? Trump. We didn't spend time talking about Biden and what he was trying to get across.
No.
And that's what I was telling you. It's like we're going to basically, it's going to be a Trump bully show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be comical doing it. SNL's going to come up there and do a skit about it. We're going to be talking about this debate for the next week, but not about Biden.
Right.
So, and then what's funny, when he felt like everybody figured out the trick he pulled, hey, I got coronavirus. I'm out the game for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I sat back at this and I said, this dude is like masterful at this stuff. Because by now, he can't come back on, unless he comes on TV, which he should.
He will be on TV Thursday.
Okay, it's good.
Right. Because the debates, Biden made a statement that I'm glad he made. Trump demanded that the only way they do this next debate was to do it in person. And Biden said, no, you got coronavirus. You're not going to infect me.
Right.
So he stood his ground. He could stand his ground because based on right now the numbers, it appears that he's leading.
Right.
So, to him, I'm glad he did because I don't want him to debate Trump again because let's face it,
right.
You're gonna have the same thing again, right? Mm-hmm. But here's what scares me about Trump. You say he's entertaining. To me, he makes me mad, and he scares me. Here's why. Trump was in Florida, right? And Trump said to those people, "I'm immune to coronavirus. I would come down and kiss each of you, even the men." And everybody was like, yay, yay, yay. And they walking around with a huge crowd gathered together with no mask on. Okay. And he says to them, "It's no big deal. Listen, I got over it. You see, I feel better than I felt 20 years ago." And he's lying. He don't feel better now than he felt 20 years ago. Right. Listen, I'm in my 60s. I don't feel like I felt in my 40s. You can't give me enough drugs to make me feel like I felt in my 40s. You know what I'm saying? I actually made to run 5 miles and think nothing of it.
Right.
There ain't enough drugs in the world to have me running 5 miles and not be, thinking nothing of it. So that's just a bunch of junk. But, he says that, right?
Right.
And when he says that, there are people that believe him. There are people that believe that coronavirus is not deadly. And since they believe it's not deadly, they're going to act like it's not deadly. And if they act like it's not deadly, they're going to infect people that I know and love. Right. You know what I'm saying? This man is helping this country die in that regard. See, if I were to know that, let's say if you have AIDS, for example, if I knew I had AIDS, let's say I got a blood transfusion and I got AIDS, if I purposefully subjected you to my blood, I would be criminally prosecuted. Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
Right. He purposefully, he knew he had coronavirus when he had that announcement of who was going to be the next nomination for the Supreme Court. We know he knew because he gets tested every day. But he still had the event anyway, knowing it. So that means he purposefully and would not wear a mask, right, didn't care about who he infected,
right,
as long as he got done what he wanted done. See, that's scary to me. because that tells me you don't care about nobody but yourself.
Right.
That means, let's say we're on the verge of war. Okay. You can't trust him to make the best decision for you. Only thing you can trust him to do is make the best decisions for him.
Right.
Right? So that means whatever increases his value. And what increases his value may mean sending countless of people to die in a war. Because he may have investments.
There's been plenty of kings that have done that.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And that's Putin. Right.
And Pharaoh.
Right. Right. Yes. Right. And see, that's how his mind was. See, to me, that's scary. Granted, the people were, they was laughing and clapping and yay. It reminded me of what the Bible talks about. Trump live forever. Yeah. Like he is a superhuman kind of deal. That's scary. That you may call people to die. And look at how our rates are going right now. There's every state in the union right now is going up. Every state is going up. That's scary.
But now that's the one thing Dr. Fauci said was going to happen. He said October, and it's going to go back up.
Mm-hmm.
We got a weather storm. I just saw a notification from USA Today saying that Paris is now gone to a curfew.
Mm-hmm.
So and all the doctors that was on the task force basically said this is a 2.5 to 3 year ordeal. The vaccine is, at that time was, at least 9 months out.
Sure.
Okay. So.
And it still is.
Right. And wear your mask. Now, what they didn't say back then, what they are saying now is that the mask itself is becoming the vaccine.
It's more effective than the vaccine.
Because it's letting you get just enough of it to where your body, you can create antibodies.
Or maybe none of it.
Right.
Right. And here's the thing about between a vaccine and the mask, which I think people, in my opinion, they are so stupid, right? I'd rather not get something than get it and get cured. Yeah. And it's the dumbest concept to me.
Right.
Is that, it won't be bad. No, but you don't know it won't be bad.
Right.
Right? So even if they do the vaccine, I'm going to keep wearing my mask until everybody in America no longer has it. Because just because you get a vaccine don't mean you can't get it.
Right.
That's the kicker. Vaccines are not necessarily, I shouldn't say that, all vaccines,
right.
Some are. All vaccines is not 100%. The flu vaccine is not 100%. You can get the vaccine and still get the flu.
Still get the flu.
It might be less severe, right. But you can still get it, right? So that to me, but if I'm wearing my mask and you're wearing your mask, the likelihood of me catching it from you and you catching it from me is almost zero.
Right.
Right? That's the thing. That's what I'm saying about Trump as a leader. He's leading us to death.
And it's really through his misinformation. And that's before we had the podcast, I was saying, I'm going to tell you what his real issue, my real issue with Trump is. Mm-hmm. Like I've always said that I'm really a moderate Republican.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with the Republican Party is that you had all the power to shut everything that he was going to do down.
And wouldn't do it.
So what is your actual agenda? The Democrats, let's be honest, you had 20 people on stage for the primaries, and neither one of them, honestly, could be even Hillary Clinton if she would have been up there.
Sure, no doubt.
Okay,
absolutely.
Joe Biden is the pick by default.
I agree.
And it really shouldn't be, but where is your younger up and coming?
You know where she's at, just like I know where she's at.
I was about to say,
she's hanging out with her husband. That's where she's at.
But okay,
Michelle Obama. That's the best pick.
The best pick out of everything. But now, if I'm the head of the Democratic Party,
mm-hmm. I
say, okay, if I can't get Michelle, I gotta find a white Obama or a JFK. I gotta find a young, handsome white male that is non-threatening, but firm enough to be able to stand up against Trump and his supporters.
Right.
And then every time he puts a fire out, he just grabs a bucket of water and just pours it out with, niceness and kindness, but still firm. Like, where is that person at?
I said, I don't want to be nice and kind. I don't. Because the neo-Nazis that support Trump, they don't see nice and kind does not persuade them.
But see, with those people, those people, their vote's gonna be what?
No, but here's what I'm saying is I want to be nice and nasty.
Okay.
See, nice to win over the,
right.
the suburban housewife, but nasty to let all the brothers know, hey, I'm in the game.
Right. I'm gonna eradicate this.
Right, because if you're nice, we don't care. We don't want you. We want you to stand up and be a man, right? That's why we kind of that's why we like Obama, because he got a little pimp walk with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like I'll slap a hoe in a minute kind of deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, okay, I use the word slap a hoe, but don't get mad, all right? Okay. But hey, what you gonna do though? What you gonna do?
But for real, that is my issue with the Democratic Party, and my main issue with the Republican Party is you really have a chance. You had a chance to really. You say you've been wanting the black vote. You say you've been wanting.
Mm-hmm.
You had the absolute chance to get half. I ain't gonna say you to get all, because there's some people that's gonna be a Democrat to the day they die,
sure.
no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But you had a chance to get young black people that wasn't around in the 60s,
right?
Wasn't around in the 70s,
right?
Okay, so you had a chance to. I was born in 78, and I'm now at the time. Okay, I'm on the fence. You can grab me right now, and they squandered it because all they had to do. If they would have pushed through and said, we're impeaching Trump because he does not believe in what we believe as a party.
Done deal.
Boom.
Done deal.
Everybody happy. Because you can't tell me that Pence wouldn't have handled the coronavirus thing completely different.
He's been different.
He's just doing like, I'm just here.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have been trying to be all macho about it.
Right.
Think about this. Again, I know you want to 7-8, so this is for your time. Nixon got black votes.
I've been in a room where black people were saying Nixon was the best president he ever had.
Yeah, Nixon got black votes, and Nixon can call you a nigga in a minute.
Right.
Okay.
But it was on tape.
Right. Nixon call you a nigga in a minute.
Right.
But he got black votes. Okay.
Right.
Reagan got black votes. Not the first term, but wait, I tell you, he got in the first term too.
Yeah.
But he really got him in the second term. Okay. See, you're right. The thing is this. What I don't understand about this group of black Republicans is their inability to see the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See, as a Democrat, I ain't got a problem admitting there have been good Republican presidents.
Right. But Republicans will never say that there was a good.
It was a good Democratic president.
Right.
Bill Clinton balanced the budget. We had a horrible deficit. He balanced the budget, and still they won't say he was a good president.
Right.
Think about this. They tried to impeach the man because he had sex with a woman.
Right.
But yet this guy does all this stuff, right. And you like, well, I don't see nothing wrong with him myself.
Over lying, for perjury.
Yeah.
Perjury, man.
I don't see nothing wrong with the stuff that this guy's doing. I think he all right. The fact that he wants another country to help us, do this and do that, and because I'm bribing another country to do something, I don't see a problem with it. They're kicking the head.
Right.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like how can you, as a human being, not think about Obama, for example? How can you, as a human being, not admit? Just the facts are, when he took office, the country was plummeting. We were bleeding red.
Mhm.
The auto industry was almost collapsing. The housing industry was collapsing. Obama turned it around. Obama's stimulus package, where Bush stimulus package, remember, I don't know if you remember this, but Bush gave a stimulus package
He's
too.
like, I got $256.
Right, but the money came to people, right?
Right.
Obama's stimulus package went to companies,
Mhm.
and people were mad because they were, where's our money at?
Right.
But Obama understood that, wait a minute, if you want to turn the country around, you don't give it to the people. You give it to those individuals that create jobs. And that's what he did. And so what? The housing industry came back up. AIG was gone. What?
Right.
They're back now. Chevrolet, General Motors rather, was gone. They're back strong now. Ford back strong now. All those industries, Wall Street back strong now. But you won't get a Republican to say, you know what, he did a good job.
You ain't. That's one thing ain't gonna happen.
But and that's the problem I have with them, is that be honest. Stop walking around the truth like the truth just doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, be honest. Okay, Hillary Clinton was not a big liar. Be honest.
Right.
She wasn't a big liar. Who in the heck lies more than Donald Trump? Nobody in the history of the world lies as much as Donald Trump lied. Be honest. If you don't like her, just be honest with why you don't like her.
Right.
But don't sit there and lie because, oh, she's a liar. Like Donald Trump don't lie.
Like, all politicians don't lie.
All politicians, all human beings lie. You know what I'm saying? Shucks, if the dog can talk, the dog gonna be lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in fact, the dog do lie. When you go to a dog and they done chewed up your shoe,
Right.
the dog, he breathes it in like he ain't done that.
Or the one that look like he ain't gonna bite you.
Right.
And then boom, right? So be honest. You know, be honest. Hillary Clinton was a smart woman. Be honest. She was a smart woman. She was a lawyer. She was a civil rights lawyer. I mean, that's the thing that black folk forgot. This woman fought for civil rights when it wasn't popular. You know, but be honest about it. You know, I think that's why I can't understand the new black Republican. I mean, I understand you because, you know, you the truth don't bother you.
Right.
You know, you like the truth. But some of these folk, like I say, the guys I'm watching on Fox, I'm like, why are you sitting there saying that this guy is racist? Because he locked people up. I was in law enforcement at one time. I want you locked up too. You know, there's a gentleman that murdered my nephew. I don't want him out. I want him locked up.
That's right.
There's a gentleman that murdered my sister-in-law. I want him locked up. I go to the parole hearings and I tell him why he needs to stay locked up all the time.
Right.
Yeah, we're like, because you did something wrong, you're supposed to be out. No. And I'm not mad at Biden. Just like, you know, like people, the guy said, you know, like I mentioned to you before, and the guy says, well, what has Biden done for you? Well, Biden's job was not to do anything for me because Biden was a senator in Delaware. I didn't expect him to do anything for me because I didn't live in Delaware.
Right.
But if I lived in Delaware, the question is, what did he do for me in Delaware?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like Mark Warner, if you ask somebody from California, what did Mark Warner do for you? They're going to say nothing.
I don't even know who Mark Warner is.
Right, they don't even know.
Right.
But I can tell you what he did for me,
Right.
you know, because he makes sure these shipyards stay buzzing. You know, he makes sure money keeps coming.
Now, that's a good question. Is why I wish he was sitting here because I would ask him like, why aren't you running for president?
That's a good question. But I think, I don't know now, because he was a governor.
He was a great governor.
Great governor. I think he's been a good senator. He certainly is a good speaker. You know, he's a good debater. Unlike, you know, our other senator who's not necessarily as good a debater, you know, but Mark, I don't know. I don't know why Mark has not run. I don't know. I ain't got the answer. I certainly would vote for him.
Yeah.
But just like Governor Wilder, I don't know why he got out of politics.
Yeah.
He went from governor to being a mayor.
Bones in the closet, man. I mean, everybody got skeletons in there, and some of them are some big ones.
See, I think now bones shouldn't even matter anymore.
Because Trump basically blew that out of the water.
Yeah, you know, for anyone that talks bad about somebody with bones in the closet is really being hypocritical. Yeah. You know, if he can say that he had no problem filling women's private parts, we know he had plenty of women, right. You know, and not just had them, but paid for them. Mm-hmm. You know, so what's moral about him? You know, he calls people names. he called football players' mothers, call them the Big B.
Right.
You just gonna call somebody a SOB
Right.
just because they want to have the right to protest, which is a part of our constitutional rights.
Right.
So, but anyhow, I know our time is gone.
Well, boy, this one here is going to get a lot of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I did the Trump supporter that watched the podcast, few and far between. I hope I did y'all justice. If I did not, you can hit me up on the comment and I'll respond. But it's very difficult to defend Donald Trump. And the crazy thing is, it ain't over because he got kids that are coming for the throne as well, as they say. So it's like 2020, 2024 is really going to be, and that's when I feel like the Republican Party's got to put their foot down because Ivanka and the rest of them, they want to be in politics. And those are the people that I'm really more scared about than I ever was scared about what Donald Trump could actually pull off. I was more scared about the kids because they're young, they're able to connect to younger people. And if you start getting a whole new generation of voters that's coming in and you can convince them that this is the way to go, then we got some issues, some real issues. So thank y'all so much for listening. This is your host, C.B. Baker. Till next time.